Here we are. I'm Calvin Dial. I'm here with Philip the Honey Badger and Will Peter. And this week we are going to talk about our Novice MMA event that's coming up on the 30th of May. The Novice MMA event is available for you to register for now. You can get through our website at www.gamaireland.ie and on Smoothcomp as well.
You're getting good at this, Calvin.
Yeah, I was practicing that one in the shower.
I can't wait for the Novice, man. Always action-packed, isn't it?
The Novice is action-packed, and it's our last Novice event was one just before the coronavirus hit, and it was our first one with our new cage.
Yeah. The cage makes a big difference. Getting to experience the cage at such a beginning level like Novice is so good for your progression in the sport. You know, you're straight away getting used to the area and knowing when your back's against the cage, using the fence work. You know, if you're not using a cage, you're really missing out. You're not getting the full experience. Also, with our Novice MMA, then the no headshots makes it safe, so safe to get experience of competing in an MMA environment. So, yeah, it's great to get it back on board. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and the no headshots thing was causing a small bit of controversy before, but like you said, there's so much more that the Novice MMA event well, first of all, no one has to do Novice MMA. You can't, if you want to do headshots, you can go and
if you don't want to do headshots, go to amateur. Easy.
Yeah, but this is like a stepping stone that teaches you so much more about competing.
It gets you used to those butterflies, gets you used to being in a cage with somebody trying to take not your head off, but trying to come after you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the thing about any competition, not just MMA, but MMA especially, you have to get relaxed and you have to get calm and you have to get used to the whole scenario of going into fight. So with the Novice, with no headshots, it just makes that whole experience much easier and much you're able to handle it a lot easier. You know what I'm saying? So if you got 2 or 3 of those events, maybe 4 of those events, you're well established to make the step up to amateur then. You know what I'm saying? Instead of going into amateur on the blind, never having competed in MMA.
Yeah, and to jump straight into amateur, I suppose it's quite. I know you kind of jump straight into professional, but it's
But there was no options. There was no other options. You know,
it's a huge task.
Hence why we're doing this, Calvin. That's where the ideas are coming from. You know, to give people those pathways and those progressions to get to the highest level of the sport. And this is the way to do it. Like, who wants a 12-year-old, 13-year-old going in, getting knocked out cold in a MMA event? Like, that's ridiculous. Who's that good for? Like, you know, it's not good. The poor chap's never gonna, or girl's never gonna do any MMA again after that, you know. So this cuts all that out, gives them the experience, and then they can make the steps or the progression they need to in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And it gives you a real platform. The other day I was listening to a podcast and Mike Tyson was talking about his trainer, Cus D'Amato, and he was saying that his philosophy was fight as many amateur fights as you can and lose as many times in amateur as you can before you go professional. And like the same thing, it was to get you have to get used to losing, get used to winning, get used to the walkout, getting used to nerves, getting used to some things not going your way, and to do it where, you know, in boxing is a bit different because they have an amateur thing. We have Novice here, so there's no records kept, and it gets you can compete as many times as you want. And if you're not taking the head damage, that means you can compete more times to get used to all those things.
Yeah. And plus, if you're a hobbyist, so let's say I'm a business executive who has meetings next week, who wants to compete in the Novice MMA, you can't do that if you're going to be going in with 2 black guys into your meeting next week. You know what I mean? So for those guys that never have any intentions of going amateur, this is also a great platform for you to compete and showcase the skills that you've learned in your club. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. So it's really for up and coming fighters, aspiring fighters, and also people who just want to experience it and have a bit of crack doing it as well of any
yeah.
age. Yeah. And we
And
have a
have a
good few
goal
of
to work
those.
towards. Yeah.
Yeah, goal to work towards. Because the last thing you want is to be doing a proper fight. You won't do it anyway. I don't think it's available for you. So if you ever wanted to feel what it was like,
Yeah.
Novice MMA is the perfect place for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good.
Anyways, like even back when I first started MMA, there was no headshots. What was it called? The MMA League, which was no headshots. And that was back in the day. That's where the likes of Owen Roddy, Chris Fields, Paddy Houlihan, they all came through the MMA leagues, which was no headshots. So don't try and tell me it doesn't work. Look where those guys got to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and where you really see it then is like you were talking about the calmness as well. People have this idea that people are just calm, or you can easily make yourself calm by trying to be calm, but that only comes from experience.
Yeah, that's another part of your training that has to be worked on, and the only way to do that is by competing. And like I actually know in my career the exact fight where I actually became calm on the walkout, and I could actually see people in the crowd and soak it all in. Whereas before that point, it was laser vision, just staring at the guy. It was like, he's mine. I have to keep looking at him. And that was really my way of just taking away all the the problem of like the crowd. You're trying to block out everything, so you're trying to get tunnel vision on your opponent. Whereas like you're not calm, and that you think you're calm, but you're not calm. You're riled up to the last, and you're just thinking about killing that guy. Where realistically, MMA has to be controlled aggression, and the way to do that is competing loads over and over and over again, and then eventually you hit that point where it's like, this is another day in the office. I'm just bringing the turf out to the yard here, Calvin. It has
Yeah.
to be easy where you don't feel that pressure. And the fighters that can get that calmness, that can control aggression, they're the fighters that go all the way. So yeah, Novice MMA is a great platform to start out on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's very good. What do you think it was when you did the fight that brought that? Was it the experience of just doing it so many times?
Yeah, I think it was experience, and like, yeah, it was like I could have had like 10 fights at that stage. So, or maybe it was probably less, but like I had a good few fights, and it's just, you get used to it. You get used to being in the back in the crowd or warming up. You get used to just all the scenario, the rules meetings. You get used to being the person you're fighting is nearly right beside you all the way out till you get in the cage. Like, people think that you just see him when you get in the cage, but you have to get used to looking at him and controlling your emotions the whole way out. The last thing you want is to be standing backstage, hyped up to the last, this anxiety knot in your stomach, and you're burning energy galore there. You go out into the cage, and 2 minutes in, you're gasped, breathing, gasping for air, and your man's kicking the bollocks out of you. So if you can have all that calm, bring that emotion down, have it inside that you're ready to go, you've done your training, you're ready to go out and take on this guy. That's the big difference. You're not wasting any energy. You're switched on, and you're firing on all cylinders.
Yeah,
And like, that's experience. That's competing in all platforms. You should be competing in everything you can compete in. Jiu-jitsu tournaments, novice MMA, kickboxing tournaments. Get all the experience you can. So when you do arrive at pro level, you have that zero on your record, and you're trying to mine that zero like a newborn baby. That, like, up onto that point, it doesn't matter about losses. Whoever, do you ever see GSP on a podcast and they're asking what his amateur record is? It
yeah,
doesn't happen. Nobody gives a shit. Where I think a problem with people at the minute in Ireland, especially in the amateur scene, they're all worried about losing. They're all terrified of losing. Nobody cares about those losses. Go out, perform, get used to the environment, get calm, control the aggression, and then get on to pro and worry about losing that zero.
Yeah, excellent advice. That's very true. That's where you really want to be worrying about. Get all your learning done there. You can't be naturally like this. You can be natural ability only gets you a certain level. You have to get
Yeah, yeah,
experience and practice in. Very good. Well, speaking of amateur MMA, we have a link on our website now of a form to fill out for anyone who'd like to compete on the amateur MMA event in October 30th, the GAMA Amateur MMA event. You can go onto our website and fill out the form, and you'll be considered for the fight card.
yeah, yeah. Brilliant. Like it'll be, you need to be on that database. So that's where we're going to do our matchmaking from. So like if you're interested in doing competing on the amateur card, we need you to fill out that link so that we have access to you. So we can do our homework and make sure we're matching competitive fights. Yeah, we don't want any mismatches or anything like that. Then I've got a few messages in asking me about the belts for the amateur scene. We will pick out top fighters from Ireland to compete for our titles. So there's not going to be tournaments or anything like that. It'll be like we want experienced guys to fight for our titles. So that's the way it'll work. Just your normal one fight and you're the champ, and then you defend that belt. You're undisputed then.
Yeah, undisputed, and that's the way to do it, because these tournaments and things, when it comes to something at the level of amateur, it's not, they don't work out as well. I think the
No,
best way to
no.
have is the undisputed, and we'll know
Yeah,
about
yeah.
records and how they're doing, and you know who will.
Obviously, we're not. If you're 2-0, you're not going to be fighting for a title. So this is for the experienced guys. But what we're looking for is people to come through our progression. So like our goal for the future will be our novice fighters getting loads of experience on our novice show. The standout guys, we'll bring them on to our amateur show, help you get everything on board for competing at amateur, give you any advice or any experience, or give you the experience you need. Then get you into our amateur show, get you a few wins, and then get you fighting for our titles. That's the goal of GAMA, is to produce our fighters from novice right up to amateur, pro level also, and move on to the big shows then.
Yeah, absolutely. No, because actually, a couple of people have been writing in asking about how do I know I'm ready for amateur level or that. And I just said, if you've never competed amateur yet, get into the novice event first. Let's have a look at you and see what the crack is. And then you'll know how to do that.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's the perfect way. And even through jiu-jitsu as well, like the mixed martial artists that compete at jiu-jitsu, you have a good idea of their ability from looking at
Yeah.
our jiu-jitsu competitions, and we've even seen that now. And like you've said, it's all there. And there's some people who've probably competed on the novice MMA who might compete on the GAMA
Yeah,
amateur event
yeah.
as well.
There's a lot of amateurs in the country that have come through the ranks of GAMA's novice events. Also as well, if you're unsure of if you're at amateur level, go speak to your coach. Um, for me, I would like to see you with a blue belt in jiu-jitsu before you start an amateur MMA. That's my opinion on it. You need a good level of grappling, but all coaches are different. So if you're in the right club and you have the right coach, they're looking out for you, so they will give you the right advice whether you're ready for amateur or not.
Yeah, I think having the blue belt is a good standard as well, because that's raising the standard of fighters in Ireland as well. Like,
Yeah,
because like
that's not a
no, it's
necessity
not.
for
No,
GAMA, but from my advice to you is you should have a blue belt.
yeah, I think it's good advice, because you're not worried about certain. If you're going in with no grappling, then you're going to be a bit worried
You're
about.
bollocks, man. Yeah. Listen, you might trip up when you go to fucking hit him and fall on the ground. He didn't even have to take you down. What are you going to do then if you know jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, there's no amount of that won't get rid of your nerves. You'll have nerves then. So,
I
but
don't
very
care
good.
if you can bench press 200 kilos. That's not going to help you when you fall on the mat, mate.
It's really hard to get up if someone's on top of you knows how to grapple. Impossible, I would even say, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, finally, then, what we will just want to talk a little bit about is GAMA Underground. We might have to change the date on GAMA Underground at the moment, looking at the COVID-19 cases and things.
We could go ahead with it, but like for us, like the community transmission is still very high at the minute. So like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, move that date forward a bit, gives people more time to train and makes it a little bit safer. I think once we get into that April, somewhere around April, I think it'll definitely go ahead then, because the numbers are dropping dramatically each week. So like, I think better be safe than sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll send out an email to all the GAMA Underground athletes, letting them know what the new date will be. And yeah, that's everything then. So the Novice MMA is open. If you want to compete on it, sign up now through our website and get your name onto the GAMA amateur MMA database if you want to be considered for the card there. And yeah, so, and the last thing then, the Novice MMA will be live streamed as well for people to watch too.
Yes,
So it'll be a
brilliant.
bit crack. It'll be in the fight studio as well.
Yeah.
So we're very excited about that. Excellent stuff, Philip.
We're bringing Yaz Island to the Midlands of Ireland.
Yes, exactly. Maybe we'll get a few blow up beach balls and a couple of
palm trees.
Yeah, palm trees going and some margaritas. Good stuff, Phil.